Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Louisa. How do you like my Christmas tree? I'm trying to get into the spirit. It brings me some holiday cheer. I know it's a tiny Christmas tree, but it's the one that I like to have in my studio, and it helps me, get into the spirit. So today, I know you're probably hoping that I have a tutorial for Christmas jewelry, but I'm not going to do that today. It's going to be a little bit different. Actually, it's going to be a lot different. I'm going to make a statement necklace, a very colorful necklace, and it's going to be absolutely gorgeous. I think you're going to really enjoy it. Now, if you like minimalist jewelry, this is not the video for you. This necklace is definitely not minimalist. It's the exact opposite. It's very colorful. It's a statement necklace. A few weeks ago, I did an unboxing for BeeBeeCraft, and I showed you some pretty colored beads, and I promised you that I was going to make a tutorial. So that's what I did. Here's some of the beads right here. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave a link down below in case you want to buy some for yourself, or if you just want to check out BeeBeeCraft website. I'll leave the link below. So let me go ahead and turn my camera around, and I'll let you know what materials you're going to need. See you in a little bit. Okay, let's go over the materials. As you can see, I have these two beautiful boxes of Crackle Lampwork beads from BeeBeeCraft. And if you have not seen the unboxing, please check it out. I'll leave the link below, but they have all kinds of beads, all kinds of colors. These happen to be 10 colors each, and this is the 4mm size and the 6mm size. As you can see, the color scheme is exactly identical. It's just a larger bead over here. But what I like about these beads is that they're not all one color. So I don't know if you guys can see that. This has like a dark greenish color and a yellow color. And some of them have the same color but different values. Like here's a dark pink and a light pink. So they're very interesting looking beads. In addition to the colors, of course, there's the crackle finish on each one of them. Real pretty. So we're going to be using both of these sizes because we're going to be making 50 components using these beads. Okay, so let's move on. As far as the findings, of course, they're all gunmetal. I'm real excited about that because I finally get to use my gunmetal findings. We have a lobster clasp. We have some 4mm jump rings and some 6mm jump rings and some chain. The chain can be any size that you want, anything that you think is attractive. This is about, I think this is 5x4. The links are 5x4. But you can use any chain. You don't want it to be too dainty though, because it needs to be able to hold up the beads, and the beads are going to be quite heavy. You're going to need some head pins as well. And I'm using, these are pretty hard. That's the reason why, you could use wire, but we're going to be doing a lot of links and forming the components, and I like to use something that's pretty firm. And these head pins, I think they're made out of brass. They're pretty firm. So I'm going to use these because another reason is that a while ago I received a bag of a whole bunch of, I don't even know how many there are in here, but it had an assortment of colors, and the gunmetal head pins were the ones that I just had an overabundance of. So I'm going to use these. You're also going to need some 12mm rings. Now this is important. These rings need to be closed rings, okay? This design is not going to work unless you have closed large rings, and they can be anywhere from 10mm to 12mm, and these are actually pretty fancy. As you can see, they have a little bit of a design on them. I actually snipped these off a chain that I bought at the International Gem and Jewelry Show, and I decided to, that I would use each ring. And at first I was going to save the connectors in between each one, but it was very, very difficult to pry open, so I ended up just snipping off the connectors and pulling off the rings. So I will leave a link below for some 12mm gunmetal colored beads because they are difficult to find, but if you can't find them, or if you not able to buy any at the link that I'm going to leave you, because I don't know how many they have actually, you can actually use anything from 10 to 12mm, and I know you can get 10mm gunmetal colored rings, but just make sure that when you buy them, make sure that they're closed. That's the most important thing. Okay, so in addition to this, now we're going to be doing 50 components. So guess what I'm going to use? I'm going to use the one-step looper. That's right. I mean, I know that's a poor excuse to be using the one-step looper, but it's a wonderful tool. This is the the 2.25 millimeter loop, and that's the inner diameter of the loop. And I'm going to use this just because it's quicker, and we're going to be doing 55, like I said, 55 components, and each component's going to have 2 loops, one on each end. So I'm definitely going to be using this. And then, you know, the thing about this tool is that you do have to fiddle with a loop once you form it. So what I found out is that the loops don't, when you do them, they don't turn out closed. So I'm going to use another tool for that, and I know some of you are going to cringe, but I'm going to use the crimping tool to gently close each loop to make sure, because it's important that the loops are closed when we go to assemble the necklace. Otherwise, the necklace will fail on you if you don't do that. So we're going to be using this, and then of course all of the pliers that you can get your hands off, chain nose pliers, flat nose pliers, I think even round nose pliers might come in handy. However many pliers you can get to help you do the job, I would recommend that. Okay, so anyway, go ahead and gather your materials and I'll meet you back. Are you ready to have some fun? I know I am. This is probably the most fun part of the project. Everything else is a pain, I gotta tell you. I thoroughly enjoyed putting the components together. I did not enjoy the assembly of the necklace. I'll just be honest with you right now. So let's have some fun. All right, so I'm going to grab a head pin, and I'm going to grab my one-step looper. I'm going to place the head pin inside the jaws. Now it's not going through the hole on the side there. Can you guys see that? It's not going through the hole. I'm just placing it right on the jaws, okay, right in the middle, and then I'm going to squeeze it. Bend the head pin so that it's pointing straight ahead, just like this. So when you pull it off, it'll be sitting right on top of the pin the way you want it, okay? All right, so now that you've got your first loop, you're going to put on one 4mm bead, one 6mm bead, and let's see, another 4mm bead, just like this, okay? And you're going to put it down. Let's grab another head pin. Snip off the head part of the head pin. Bend it so that it's pointing straight ahead. And then thread on a 4mm bead, a 6mm bead, and let's see, another 4mm bead, and there's your second component, and put it down. And let's do another one. We're going to do this production line style, like we're at a factory assembling components, because I find this is the most efficient way to do this. Now, once in a while, what will happen is the loop will not be perfectly lined up. I don't know if you guys can see that. So when that happens, you get your pliers and you straighten it out, you fiddle with it, okay? So now you have, you know, it's not exactly close, but we're going to take care of that later on. That's why I showed you these tools, the crimping tools. We're going to use this to close that loop. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go ahead and put on a 4mm, a 6mm, and another 4mm bead. Okay, so now we have 3 of them assembled. So like I said before, this is the most fun part, and I like this part because you don't have to really think about anything. You don't have to think about what color, because it's all mixed colors. So the more mixed up it is, the better. And that's what's so pretty about this necklace. It's all the colors up against the gunmetal. It's very, very striking. So the more colorful we can make it, the better. And the nice thing about this project is that you don't have to worry about figuring it out. It took me hours to figure out the pattern, and I actually had to disassemble the necklace several times because it wasn't working out. Whatever bead pattern I had was not working out. And I will show you that. I'll show you what I'm talking about after we get done forming these components. It was not easy, let me tell you. It was very, very challenging at first. But you guys don't have to worry about it because I figured it out for you. Okay, so now we have 5. And you're going to continue. I know I said 50 earlier, but I meant 55. You're going to form 55 of these components, and then we're going to come back and finish them off. All right, so go ahead and form your 55, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Let me show you a quicker way to do this, actually, since we're doing production line style. So go ahead and use your one-step looper on each head pin, okay, and do the one loop, and then just put it down. This is a lot quicker. That way you get the head pins done sooner, and then it's just easier. You don't have to keep putting the tool down. So go ahead and continue doing this until you have 55 of these head pins, and then put your beads on. I should have explained this earlier. Put your beads on, and then we'll come back and finish the other side. Okay, I'm back, and as you can see, I've got my 55 components semi-assembled. And for those of you who don't have the one-step looper tool, I'll go ahead and show you how to form the loop. If you're an advanced beader, you probably already know how to do this. It's a pretty easy thing to do, but basically you get your pliers and you kink the pin right by the bead, just like this, okay? And then you have to snip off the excess pin so that you're left with approximately 3/8 of an inch, something like that, okay? It's a good idea when you're doing this many to make sure that you know whether it's your little fingernail or whatever it is. Just make sure that you have a consistent length each time, because you want your loops to be uniform. You don't want some loops to be smaller than others. Then you get your round nose pliers, you grab the pin right at the end like this, and very simply turn it until the end of the loop touches the pin itself. You just keep turning until it touches and you have a loop, okay? The next thing you want to do after you form your loop is you want to make sure that both loops are facing the same exact direction. So get 2 pliers and just turn the loops until they're both facing the same direction. And you can fiddle with them. And you can, I mean, I said use the crimping tool just because we're going to be using this actually later on when we go to assemble the necklace, because it's really hard to get into the little spaces that we're going to be leaving, you know, when we put the components together. So ideally, round nose pliers is probably the best tool to use to close your loops. But later on, we will be using the crimpers to close them a little bit more, make sure that they're snug. Okay, so that's how you do it. But you know, since we have so many, I'm going to use my handy tool, my one-step looper tool. And again, you want to put it in here. Now this time you're going to actually make the end of that pin go through the hole just a little bit. Okay, can you guys see that? And this is kind of important. You don't want the beads to be too close to these jaws, because if you have them too close, they could shatter, okay? So you want them up against, but don't push them really hard up against the jaws. Then once you have that, give it a squeeze, bend it a little bit so that it's pointing straight ahead, take it off the pliers, okay? Now you want to release it a little bit, release the pliers so that it slides out, and here you have your second loop. Okay, as you can see, it's not completely closed. This is what I was talking about. Okay, and that's fine because we don't have to worry about it too much now. You know, we will worry about it later on when we go to assemble the necklace. And once again, you want to make sure your loops are lined up. Okay, so they're facing the same direction. And you can use your round nose pliers if you want to close it, or the crimping tool. It's up to you. Just make sure that they don't bend out of place, okay? All right, so go ahead and do that to all of your components, and then I'll meet you back. Okay, so here are my 55 components. I actually, you know, I was looking at the notes that I took. It's actually 54 components, and one is actually on a head pin. So on one end it'll have a loop, on the other end it'll have a head pin, but it really doesn't matter. You can have eye pins at each end. It doesn't matter. And I may add some little charms anyway, so we'll see what happens when we get to the end of the tutorial. Okay, so again, you want to make sure the loops are closed and they're lined up. Okay, so you're going to make 3 strands. Each strand is going to have 8 of these components and 7 of these rings. Okay, so you get a component, open it up just like this, put the ring on there, and then close it up. Whoops, I lost the ring. Let me try that again. Close it up. And the ring's a little bit thick, so it's a little bit tricky to get in there and close it, but you want to make sure that loop is nice and closed. Okay? And that's what it should look like. Once again, you get a component, you open it up, thread it onto the large ring, close it, and now we have 2. So you're just going to keep doing this until you have a total of 8 components and 7 rings, 3 strands. So each strand will have 8 components and 7 rings. And don't be afraid to use your crimping tool. It's very easy. You just put it in the drawer like this and very gently squeeze it until that loop is completely up against the pin. You don't want any space whatsoever. Okay, so I have 2 on here now, so I'm going to keep going until I have a total of 8, and I'm going to do 3 strands with 8 components, and I'll meet you back. Here are my 3 strands, as you can see. Alright, so now we're going to work with these 2 strands, these first 2 up here, and as you can see we have 7 loops, or I'm sorry, 7 rings. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to hang 3 components off the middle ring. Okay, so 3 components off this one. Then you're going to hang 2 of this one and 2 of this one. Okay, same thing on this side. 2 here and 2 here, and you're going to leave this one alone. You're not going to hang anything from the last ring. So 3 in the middle ring, 2 on this ring, 2 on this ring, and then 2 on this ring, and 2 on this ring. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so we get a component, open it up, and hang it from the ring. Okay, close it up. So there's 1. And get another component, open it up, and there's your second one now. Close it up. Make sure the loop is closed. Like I said, the necklace will fail if the loops are not closed. I can't say that enough. Okay. And here's where I get my crimpers, because it's really hard to get in there with round nose pliers, because I just want to make sure that those loops are completely closed. So now we have 2. Okay. And let's do a third one. Open it up, and here's a third one. Close it up. Okay, so now you're going to hang 2 on each of these loops on either side of the middle one. So 2 here, 2 here, 2 and 2, and then nothing on these last ones. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so here it is. I've hung 3 in the middle, and then 2 on each of these rings. And where you hang them is important, obviously. You don't want to hang them on the wrong side of the ring. But later on, when we go to assemble the whole thing, it's going to become a little bit more challenging. You'll see what I'm talking about when we get to that point. But basically, the loops have to all be hung in the right direction, facing the right direction. But like I said, that's not important right now. Right now, we're just trying to assemble these 2 strands. So I want you to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. Hang 3 in the middle and then 2 on each of these rings, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so there's my second strand. And now we're going to assemble the third strand. The third strand is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have 3 on the middle ring like we did with the other 2, except that the center component is going to be the one with the head pin. Okay, now if you didn't make one, that's fine. You can use one with a loop on each end, it's okay, but you're going to need 3 on the middle ring, with the center one being the head pin. And then these 2 rings are going to have 2 components each, and then these 2 are going to have 1. Okay, so 3, 2 on each one, and 1 on each one of these, and then these are free. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back. Okay, everybody, the fun part is over. Now comes the work. Okay, so the way to assemble this necklace, it's a 3-strand, well, it's not 3 strands. It's actually, I don't know if it's called a waterfall necklace, definitely a statement necklace. But the way to look at it is focus on this middle ring here, the one in the middle strand, and focus, imagine that this is a flower with 6 petals, and we have 5 petals right now, so we're missing 1 petal. The 6th petal is actually going to be one of these components here. So if we bring this down and do this, now you can see that it's a 6-petal flower. I don't know if you can see that. So basically, we're going to be doing a lot of this. We're going to be laying down the strands, making sure that all the components are laying in the right way, and the loops are facing the right direction. That's important, because if you don't do it, if they don't lay properly, then chances are you have not connected it properly. Okay, so if I'm going to give you a tip, that's probably the most valuable tip. It should lay flat at all times. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to finish this center flower by connecting this component to the ring. Okay, now this is where it gets really tricky. You can see how it lays on this ring here. So basically, you're going to take this loop and you're going to open it up, and then you're going to connect it in the same way that it's laying. Okay, so basically this is how you're going to do it. You're going to, I don't know if you guys can see this. You're not going to do it this way, you're going to do it this way. Let me just push those beads down. It's a little tricky at first. Okay, so here's my flower. I'm going to hook it to the ring this way. Once you've got it hooked, then you can pick it up and move it around. It's okay it's safe to move, because you have placed it with a loop facing the right direction. Okay, and then you want to close it up, just like I said earlier. Use your crimpers if you have to, because this is very, very tricky and it's hard to get in there with pliers. Okay, so that when you lay it out, you should be able to see whether or not it's done properly. Okay, if it lays flat like this one is laying, then you're doing a good job. Okay, so let me fix these petals here. I'm going to call these petals. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we have the petals on the center flower. This one only has 5 petals. Okay, this is the top of the necklace. So that's only going to have 5 petals. Each one of these is only going to have 4 petals. Okay, I think you can see it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this petal is actually petal number 1 of this flower. So it's it's hard to explain unless you see it assembled. But basically, this is what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so these 2 petals are going to connect to this ring. As you can see, there's only 4 petals on this flower here. We need another 2, and it's going to be these 2 up here. And once again, you want to make sure that the loops are facing the right direction. There's the center flower, and we just connected this petal right here. Okay, and all the loops are facing the right direction. So that's the most challenging thing about this necklace, making sure that the components are connected properly. So now we're going to connect this petal here. I'm not going to lie to you, this is not an easy design at all. It's very challenging. But, you know, take your time. Don't rush through it. Make sure that, you know, everything's laying flat. And eventually you'll get the hang of it. So now, as you can see, the next connection is going to happen on this ring here. So these two are going to connect that way. Okay? And then this petal is going to connect to this ring. So basically, you know, they're not all going to have 6 petals. Not all of them are going to have 6 petals. But we're going to go ahead and continue connecting the petals. It's very tricky, so, you know, I'm hoping that you can follow. I want to finish this side before we move on to this side. So the next petal's going to be this one right here. Okay? And it's going to connect to the center of this flower here. Okay. So far, so good. I have 2 petals connected to this ring. I need this one now. So let's go ahead and connect this petal now. This one goes to this ring, obviously, as you can see. All right. So now we have this one connected. All right. Can everybody see that? Can you see the pattern happening? This one actually goes over here. And the rings are laying nice and flat. That's what you want. You want the rings to lay flat. There should be no buckling at all. If you see buckling, it's because something's not connected right. Okay, so now we're going to connect this petal to this ring. And now we've finished that side. Okay, all right. So these petals here are going to connect to the 3rd strand. But before we do that, we're going to finish this side. All right, so I hope that I've given you some idea of how to hook up the petals. I guess I could keep going. It's just that I don't want this video to be too long. But just remember that the flowers have 6 petals. So this one already has 6. We're not working with this one now. We're working with this one. Okay. So we have 4 here. 4 here, and then this is the 5th one, and this will be the 6th one. So we're going to hook up this one here. So the next one's going to be this one. This one's going to hook up to this ring here. All right, so go ahead and finish the same way that you did on this side. Do it the same exact way, and I'll meet you back. And if you run into any trouble, just rewind the tape and, you know, take a look to see how we hooked it, or do a screenshot of your you know, whatever it is, your iPad or your iPhone, and then save the image, and that way you can take a look and see how I hooked everything up. All right, so go ahead, finish, and I'll meet you back. Okay, so I've connected the 2 strands, and as you can see, it's looking really, really pretty. Now, one way to know whether or not you've hung everything properly is by picking it up like this. And, you know, if it's hung properly, it should pick up pretty easily without it buckling or twisting or anything like that. And it should lay down pretty flat. Okay. So if you're struggling, you know, and it looks like it's twisting somewhere, that means that you have not connected the components properly, or they're not facing in the right direction. That happened to me initially, and it was absolutely maddening. So as long as everything's hanging properly and there's no buckling or twisting, then you know you've done everything right. Okay, so now I'm going to do a screenshot of this in case you haven't gotten this far. I know some of you are probably struggling and you're probably cussing me out right now, but I'm going to go ahead and put up a screenshot so you can take a snapshot of it and save it, and then refer back to it, you know, if you're still trying to assemble everything. But we're going to go ahead and do the third row now, 3rd strand. So this will be the center, and we already have 5 petals on this one. Let me move it up, I'm sorry. Here we go. So this is the scented flower. We have 5 petals, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And here's your 6th petal. So you're going to connect this petal to the center ring, and we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to finish off each of the flowers, making sure, so this one has 6 petals too. The 6th petal is actually one of the petals from this flower. So we have 6 if you count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these two need to connect. Same thing here. These two need to connect to this one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one actually only has 5 petals. Yeah, this one has 5 petals. Let's see. Yeah, so I think it goes like this. Yep. So we're going to connect these two together. We're going to connect these two together. Same thing on this side. Let's see. Let me turn it around so that it's facing the right direction. Okay, so there's the center. We're going to connect these two here. These two to that one. And then this one to this ring, and then this one to that ring. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And then these two get connected, and these two get connected, and this is the center dangle. Okay, so same thing over here. Let me just fix this side. This one gets connected to this ring. And so what I've done, guys, I've uploaded the image to this necklace. I've uploaded it to my blog. I do have a blog. I've never shared it on this channel, but I don't have any other way to share the image with you. So I'll give you the link to the blog. I'll put it in the description, and you can just go on there and grab the image if you want to, so that you can you know, have it so when you go to assemble yours, you'll know exactly how to do it. All right, so now the only thing that we need to do is attach the chain, and I'm going to recommend, if you're going to make this necklace, to make it, because it's so long, to make it a 14-inch necklace at the top, so it'll sit right by your neck. And so to do that, you just extend it like this, put a ruler on it. So I'm going to add another 2 inches of chain, or 2.5 inches of chain on each end, so it'll be about a 14 or a 15-inch necklace. Okay, and you can attach an extended chain, of course, if you want to, but I recommend that you make it a short length at the top, 14 to 15 inches at the top, so it sits right up against your neck, so that it drapes nicely on your chest. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and put it on for you guys. All right, so I'll see you in a little bit. Well, I think I'm ready for Mardi Gras. Is that in February? I think it is. I think it's a ways away yet, but I'm getting into the spirit of Mardi Gras now, and I thought I would put something on to match my necklace. What do you think? Pretty, isn't it? I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, Louisa, no, that's way too much. And you're right, it is. But you know what? I love these kinds of pieces. If you've seen any of my other videos, you will know that I love pieces that are overdone. That's just who I am. So if you like the necklace, but you don't like the scale, I totally get it. Not everybody likes big statement necklaces like this. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can use smaller rings. So remember we used 12mm rings? Well, you can change it and use 8mm rings, or even 10mm rings. The other thing you can do is use the same colored beads. So instead of having multicolors, you can just have one color. You can have, say for instance, an amethyst or an aqua, or, you know, depending on what season it is, like if it's spring, you can have peach and pink and pale green colors. So play around with the colors, play around with the shapes. You can have round beads, bicones. You could even make it with pearls. That would look real pretty as well. The other thing you can do is, you know, remember we had 3 rows. You can actually only do 2 rows. And that'll definitely bring down the scale a little bit. So anyway, guys, just play around with it and see what suits you, see what looks nice. I know not everybody likes statement jewelry. That's perfectly fine. But play around and, you know, make one that fits your taste. Well, thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please subscribe, please give me a thumbs up, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And thanks a lot. Bye.